Okay. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. Run a little late. Had some small technical difficulties. Welcome back to Breaking Amazon. If this is your first time watching, our mission is simple. We gave you the tools you need to disrupt niches, take down giants, and win the long game on Amazon. And today I am honored to have with me Daniela, who's from Mindful Goods. And she is going to tell us everything that we need to know to get bigger payouts and make your Amazon dreams come true. I'm just kidding. No
Let's
pressure.
do it.
No pressure. So, can you just kind of take us through your Amazon journey, a little bit about Mindful Goods, what you do, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So we started about 8 years ago as a full service agency and very quickly realized there was a huge learning curve. So my background is in marketing. At the time, it was, 10 plus years in marketing as a Jill of all trades. I had my own tech startup and I really wanted to focus on e-com. That was an area where I just wanted to dive in and become really focused on one expertise rather than doing a little bit of everything. And when I started to do that with the full service agency model, I realized how many pieces, how many moving pieces there are to this, and that we really had to be great at one thing. And of all the things that we were doing for brands, I realized that our zone of genius was on the design and SEO side. And that was the biggest area or the biggest gap that I feel like we could fill in the market, because all I was seeing at the time was a lot of very low end, cheap type of design, like the kind of that you would get on Fiverr. And so I really wanted to help the D2C brands bridge the gap, and there is a specific way to do that. And that's what we've very concretely developed at this point.
That's awesome. And before we kind of dive into the first topic, you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. And one thing, the D2C thing really jumps out to me, because when I first started doing Amazon, you would look at like the D2C sites, from like the good brands, the brands that took it seriously, that knew what they're doing. And then you would look at Amazon and it was almost like it was in a cave.
I know.
Completely disconnected from I'm like, it's still digital. It's still digital content. The buyer process, I mean, it's essentially the same. And like it's still light years away from where it could be. I think so. That is such a good call out. I think a lot of people miss the boat there. I think Amazon is a place of looking to the left and the right and then wondering why you're not making any money. And so,
and to be fair, like early brands that got on Amazon, they did extremely well without having to try very hard. And the game has just changed over the years. It's gone through so many evolutions, and there's still so much that can be done on the content side. And I think you and I both wish it was more advanced, like we see on the D2C side. We have so many different drag and drop tools in other platforms, but we don't have that yet on Amazon. And so we're really trying to figure out what is the best way that we can maximize what Amazon is giving us. And we look at every single piece to be able to do that.
100%. 100%. I think that kind of feeds into this next thing. It's like the ethereal brand territory, right? And I think when you look at brand specifically, it's probably one of the most misunderstood concepts. I think people that know brand, it's easy to misunderstand it because it's fairy dust, foo-foo land. It can be. And you have one end of the spectrum, right, where you have, sellers think brand is just basically a logo and some color stuff that Canva template. And on the flip side of that, you get these 90-page brand Bibles that have tone of voice pyramids and practically, I would say there's no practical use for it, but it gets tough to translate that. And I think that's where I think it gets tricky. So I think the middle ground is obviously where the magic happens. And a brand should really act like a decision filter that tells you, how, not necessarily how you build and structure the 7 images, but it's kind of like the anchor and the DNA to starting that process, how to present your benefits and things like that. And so in terms of I guess that one of the kind of boil this all down, it's how the shopper is able to, understand what's going on within 2 seconds without sacrificing clarity. And so from your experience, kind of like a 10,000 foot view, top of mind things, do you have any tactical recommendations here, things you've seen over the years, maybe some things that jump out where you feel like, sellers have kind of tripped and fell here in terms of execution?
Yeah, I think there's a few things, right? The challenge is for us, I think for the most part, we're working with we're working with with the type of brands that really believe their product should be in the world for a reason. And you and I have had this discussion, right? I personally feel like there's two types of brand builders. There's brand builders that are out at, doing what they're doing for a quick opportunity, quick cash. They're smart about what they're doing. They're very strategic. They build 7, 8, 9-figure brands. They're incredible at what they do, but they're very transactional. And so for them, they might not understand the value of content out the gate. Some do, some don't. But I would say they cut it short a lot of times, and they don't focus on it out the gate because they're just like, let's just get up and running, and then we'll fix things along the way. It's a very, let's move fast, let's break things, let's test the waters. And I love that because I come from a startup world. I get it. But there's a flip side to that when you focus on brand first. And the flip side of that is that you get buy-in out the gate. You don't waste a lot of spend. And you understand if people are identifying with your product quicker, right? And so there's a lot of brands now that are focusing on brand first as they're going to launch. And so for me, I think that that's one of the key things is like, what is the type of buyer that you want? And does that buyer actually care about brand and identity, right? So for me, I know myself, I'm a very particular type of buyer. 90% of the things I buy because they're pretty. Like I buy because, like, for instance, my suitcases, I'm spending double the amount, maybe triple the amount on suitcases because I want the cool, edgy beige brand, or I want the cool newest thing from Samsonite. Like I know that I buy that way. And I buy into identity. I buy into lifestyle brands. And so because I understand that intuitively, that's where the kind of brands that are coming to us are those types of brands that get it too. Like they're leaning heavy into content out the gate. They understand the value. So that's the key thing is understanding, do people care about that with your product or not? Like if it's a commodity product and you're just changing the color of the box and you're bringing in 100 other types of products like that, it might not be important, But if you're doing something edgy, cool, different, and you're building a lifestyle brand around your catalog that people are going to identify with, then that's where you can lean into brand, and there's a lot of brands who have done this successfully that have very wide catalogs in the beauty space, in all kinds of different categories. So it's just figuring out, is that the direction that you want to go or not? There's room for both. And I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but it's about figuring that step out first. And that will lead you down the path that you should take.
I think there's so much stuff I love about that. One thing that jumps out to me though in particular was obviously it'd be so easy to go like, well, content always matters. Well, maybe not. I think you bring up a good, really, really good point. If it's like a plastic doodad or something like that, or like a commodity, it might not be that. It might be like a garbage bag. It's just something that needs to do the job. I think that is a really, really good call out. And kind of
although you've seen like pet poo bags.
Right.
You
can mix out, make it cool and still win.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going with it. It's like, I saw a LinkedIn post today and you were talking about what's the most competitive segment on Amazon. I think you can make the argument that it's supplements. And at the same time, if I'm launching vitamin C, good luck. But even then there's opportunities to do things that we're talking about, or creatine's going to be tough. But there's also the thing where it's like the new mushroom nanoparticle, blah, blah, blah on, the Biohacker MD podcast, and you can launch something cool and unique. So I think there's opportunities there. But if you're talking like, I kind of look at where China wins, right? And so if it's plastic and simple and there's tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of searches a month, like it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard. So I think we're talking about some of these things like luggage, and as people are making product choices and expanding their catalog, they have to be mindful of those things. You have to have tangible things to position around that you can tell a story about to win. And so that's such a good point. I think I've heard you mention that in the past. It's just something that really stuck with me. And there's some other kind of gems you kind of put through over the years that I've really liked that we're going to get to in a few minutes. But
the other thing that's interesting,
sure,
I'll just add to that, because you mentioned like some categories and supplements are going to be really hard. I totally agree. And that's why we were really nervous to get into supplements. We never focused on it for many, many years because we just felt like, there's just so many different brands out there. Everyone thinks they're going to be the next, 8-figure brand. Like, let's just focus on, CPG. And we did. We were, we've been, really focused on helping CPG brands for many years. Well, I think over the last 2 years, we've started doing more and more in the supplement space. And it's just been like shocking to me. Like we've had brands, even just recently with Animal, we have a case study that we published not too long ago on our site. We helped them increase their sales by 700% within 30 days of putting their new refresh content live. And that's the kind of thing that like we wouldn't have expected that much from a legacy seller, a seller that's been one of the longest standing supplement brands on Amazon and very successful to date. But they too noticed that their content was getting a little stale. It wasn't consistent across the board. They just wanted to come in and clean everything up and make sure that everything was kind of thought through, everything kind of all the bows tied up, everything ready to go, you know? And it's just like that cleanup and that like looking through that lens of like, how do we make sure everything is symbiotic here, help them improve their sales?
Yeah, it's such a cool space. And there's so many unique opportunities in supplements because supplements are part of people's lifestyle and identity. I feel like a lot of times, right? Like you look at like prenatal, like there's these different phases of like women's health. There's different phases of a women's journey in your life. And I think those are compelling opportunities to really do something cool and unique, but to get people to really connect. And that to me is like the magic untapped like potential of Amazon. I think e-commerce in general, like on some of the other brands, you have like your big Nikes and stuff like that. Like they've been doing it for decades, right? But man, I look at I feel like digital in particular. If you look, it's all hard, like spreadsheet metrics, KPIs, and so we've been spoiled because they have access to all of that. But like there's this other end of it. You have the years and years and years of marketing and advertising, all of that kind of like the artful, the tasteful stuff of old that worked, that has built, that is like the backbone of marketing. None of that has seemed to translate over oddly enough into digital. And it's never made any sense to me. And the brands that get smart and you know, and find talent out there like you guys that can help them execute on these things. I mean, it's not just, you know, fairy dust. It really is real. So okay.
I think one helpful tip here to build on your point is like we've seen this in CPG because CPG has always been very competitive in grocery store, right? Like how hard it is for these brands to first get in any shelf space at all on a retail shelf, right? So imagine that struggle of a CPG founder trying to get their product into stores in the beginning. And when you get your product on store, it better sell. And if it doesn't sell, they're going to take you right off, right? So what are one of the things that they do? One of the main things that they do is make sure that their packaging stands out in the set that they see in that grocery store. Placement is another thing. But aside from placement, like one of the things that CPG brands know out the gate is their packaging better stand out on shelf. And so one of the translations to that, and this is a good bridge, right, to think about for any brand, any category, it doesn't matter if you're CPG, what does your product look like on digital shelf, right? Because that's what we're doing on Amazon. We're fighting for digital shelf space. That's in a nutshell. When people search for your product, 20 to 50 products show up on that first SERP page. How do we make our product stand out? What is the way that we can do that? Packaging is one, but there's so many different ways that we can do that with our main image.
Yeah, and you have so many opportunities to do it. It's not like you have more than the package. You give all these opportunities and they're just wasted. I think one thing kind of like moving on to kind of like tethers into what we're talking about. And this was like a super, super cool concept. I grab onto these little nuggets from things and like they burn into my brain. And one that I got from you was this concept of a content flywheel. And as you kind of like talked through it, I was like, all my years of dealing with Amazon brands, I don't think really anybody's like looked at it in this type of a frame. And I thought it was really, really cool how like, you know, the main image, like that brings that, and then that brings them in, and then that's not the end. Like then it brings them into like a really good, the first infographic hits them. And then each swipe as they move through kind of pulls them through and increase their interest level. And I thought that is a really, really cool way to approach content to get them closer to that buying decision. And like I said, I don't think to kind of like boil that all down. I mean, that's, you only get so many opportunities, so many sessions on your listing, right? Just organically. And then you have to pay out the nose to create others through advertising. And so everything that leaks off is just dollars lost, dollars and opportunities lost. Can you kind of walk the audience and probably myself through, because now we're talking face to face, I can kind of pick your brain a little bit. Can you kind of walk me through this and how it works and how how you guys do that?
Yeah, I've kind of simplified it because what I've noticed is I can get very technical and very in the weeds and talk about too many tangents all at once. But the way I kind of look at it now is, if you'd imagine a funnel, like everything comes down to a funnel in digital, in everything we're doing in online sales, right? And so how do we put our content through a funnel and do things strategically so that we're focused on the right part of the funnel and we're systematically able to push our sales through the funnel, right? And so if you think about it this way, we're first trying to get found in search. And so that's going to be the top of funnel. Are we making sure that our SEO is reaching the amount that it could? Are we making sure that our traffic is driving rank factor? Are we making sure that all the pieces are coming together for us to even show up in search? In a lot of cases, brands have set up their listings wrong and they're not showing up for the maximum that they could possibly showing up for. I was just doing an audit yesterday for this amazingly beautiful brand, stunning packaging. Their title had like 5 words in it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because title testing for us, title and bullets, has shown to be like the lowest lift. It is the easiest thing you can fix on your listing and you can get the highest amount of gains from it. It's like the number one thing you should focus on before you focus on your main image. So that right there was something that they was just sitting, like just nobody touching it. And I was just like, oh, if somebody could just get in there and play with those titles and those bullets. So that's the first thing, right? That's getting found in search. But once you're showing up in search, the next part is, how do we get people to click on your main image to come into your listing, right? You have all of these competitors, you're fighting for attention, and a lot of brands are still just putting a basic product on white that might not even be the size of the frame. It might be like this size when it could be this size, right? And so that's one little thing you can do. You can also play with like maybe taking the lid off and putting it to the side, maybe having the bottle like kind of sideways. Like there's so many different things that you can test and play with to see how are we going to get attention to our product instead of our competitors. I mean, for main images, the sky is the limit. Just because you found a winner doesn't mean you can't find one that beats that. So you should be continually trying to beat your main image. And guess what? Once you come up with one that wins, a bunch of people are going to copy you. So you got to switch it to another one. Like just always be playing with your main image to see what you can do to improve your click-through rate and get more people coming in, right? So once you've done that and you've got some winning traction there, people come into your listing and they're going to go through your product images. They may or may not go through your product images. They may just scroll down to see what's going on in the A+. They may not even do that. They may just click the reviews button and go straight down. There's no guarantee they're going to look at anything. So the only thing you can do, the only defense mechanism you have, is to make sure that every single free slot that Amazon gives you for your content is loaded up and interesting, right? If we can make it grab attention, be interesting, answer a question that the customer has, and do all those things effectively, we're gonna have a higher guarantee of closing the sale, right? So systematically, what are the top questions in the customer's mind at that time, and how do we address them? Just boom, 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 boom. So you get those questions answered. If we can get the questions answered quickly and they know this is the product for them, a lot of times shoppers don't want to spend a lot of time in that discovery phase. There's people like me, I will spend a little bit of time. Like I'll be double checking things, but there's so many shoppers on Amazon that are on Amazon because they're a mom and they're busy. They got to just get that thing in the cart and go, that's the convenient shopper. So understanding what percentage of, like, for instance, if you're selling a variety pack of snacks, that's the mom. The mom is like, let's go. Give me the information that I need so I know this is the right thing. I don't want to be looking at 10 different things. I know my kid needs the gummy snack. I know I need the 20 pack. Boom, put it in the cart, done. So if we can answer those questions as quickly as possible, great. So there's a difference in my mind between primary content there and then secondary content. Primary content is like, what are the first pieces of content that people are going to see? Let's hit them hard with the things that we know they're asking when they're on the listing. And then secondary content is like, once they swipe, let's give them something cool, give them more educational pieces, more things they should know. How many people love our product? Here's how to use the product. Here's all the different ways you can use the product. Here's all the recipes that go with our product. There's all the fun stuff that goes along with it, versus like, here's how many come in it. Here's all the ingredients in it. Here's all the heavy hitting stuff we know we have to answer up front.
I think all that resonates with me. I hope my face should explain. It's like, ding, eureka. One thing that I've kind of always told people over the years is that I think there's clearly lots of goals to content. I really, really, really like how you unpacked, like, depending on who it is, that's going to change the cadence and how concise I can be, right? To me, that's the true mastery, where you can tell where somebody's a very good designer and somebody's just like, they're good technically with Photoshop. Like, you can operate Photoshop and not be a designer. I'm not trying to poke fun at those people, but you being a designer know the difference in the content. I think being concise and clear and punchy when you need to be, it's like, it makes all the difference in the world. And one thing I've always kind of tried to tell my clients is that my goal, or your goal should be, is to be that sliver in somebody's eye, right? So no matter if I'm the second thing they've looked at, the third thing, the fourth, or the first, but my goal is I want to become the comparison point for everybody else. When they come to my listing, something that needs to be like, oh, but it doesn't have this. And then they come back and look at it one more time, or, oh, but it doesn't, there was just something about this other one. So they're always bouncing back and forth. And then you're the one you're benchmarking against. If you can achieve that, with content deployment, and ideally the perfect mix is when the content delivers and then the product actually has cool things to talk about. And then it's like, you can get quick momentum with it. But I love that concept of the content flywheel. And I think that's something that even, a seller that's not a designer can kind of get their mind around. And as they're kind of vetting people to build their listing stuff, they can kind of ask those questions and get in the right frame of mind to be able to, so they're not just getting a jumble of images, to put into their listing and cross their fingers. Right.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, the other piece that's missing there is, I think everything I just said can be done like with 80% of the work up front, right? Like, we're gonna do a Voc AI analysis. We're gonna do a data dive analysis. We're gonna really understand the data and your SQP reports, your PPC reports, pull everything in. And that's really gonna help us determine what those questions are that the customer is asking. Who is that exact avatar? What is it that they want to see? Like, that gives us everything we need to know. That's 80% of it. The other 20% of gains that you're gonna see should be happening throughout the year as you're split testing other content. Right. And I think that's the piece that's missing for most brands. Like, they come out the gate and they're like, boop, we did this awesome refresh for the year. Awesome. But are you continually seeing gains? Are you continually checking how your content is relating to everyone else out there? And really, like, these split tests don't take very much. I mean, they take time to like let them run if you're doing it with manager experiments. But if you're doing a manual, they take a couple weeks. So that part takes time. But the actual like design stuff, like when we're designing projects, we're designing multiple main images. We're split testing up front with something like PickFu. We're uploading the one that we think is going to be the best winner, but there's still other variations that we gave to the client that they could be testing throughout the year. Because while we think PickFu gives us the best leading indication of which one's going to perform best, it's not a tried and true. It's 70% accurate, So we still want to be split testing those other main images live on manager experiments. If that's your, tool of choice for split testing, it's free. That's the time consuming part, but uploading the extra image in there and setting it up, that takes 5 minutes, and I don't see many brands actually doing that. And that's little baby gains you can get throughout the year. And those baby gains add up,
I have two things I want to jump off on there. The first thing is when people watch us on YouTube, I'm talking to you as e-com owners. If you're an Amazon seller, I want you to really get your mind around this. And this is a question, as Danielle was talking about this, I want you to ask your designer this question, because this is the first time in all of my years of doing this that I've ever heard a design agency, and that's why she's so good in my opinion. She just briefly talked about their process, and it was off the rip, because that's how they do it. She's like, you go through brand analytics and you go through that and you go through all these different data points. She has all these different tools she's talking about that they do before they even start the design process. I promise you, if you ask that question to 100 design agencies today, I would be shocked if one of them said any of those things. And so if I'm an Amazon seller right now, I'm going to ask them, can you just talk me through your process before you guys even design an image? What do you guys do before you start the design process? And they won't give you an answer like that, but hopefully it approximates that becomes a benchmark, right? Because there's so many layers that go into this before I even start to think about how to build concepts. And one more thing here, not to toot your horn too much, as an agency owner myself and having to brief lots of designers over the years, which has been arduous and painful and time consuming and prescriptive, is that the hardest part to me is like the messaging and what to say and knowing the audience. And then that's 95% of it. And then the rest of it is, organizing. That's all an element of it too. But all that stuff, folks, is so super important. And I think the other thing that jumped out to me was this is stuff that like I run into all the time, but like it like snaps me out of it because it's like the Twilight, it's like Groundhog Day, right? So Amazon sellers, I'm not picking on them because I've been on this. It's like I said, Groundhog. It's happened so many times over the years. It's a history repeats. It's like, I don't understand what's going on. Like that we're growing, for the last 3 years. Now all of a sudden, like, everything stopped. Okay, what have you done different in the last 24 months? Well, yeah, we tried a couple different ad agencies, and here we are today. And they said that they could, they're going to. Okay, so you tried a couple of different PPC agencies, and nothing's changed other than your ad spend has went up. If you guys retool your SEO at all, probably not. Half the time they do try that, but it's like a haphazard attempt. It's not like a genuine attempt. Almost none of the time, it's like, well, what have you done with your content? The market changes, guys. Amazon is a dynamic. It's a hellscape of furious competition, and so your content, like you said, most people aren't going to read. I don't think most people read the bullets, or maybe a few do. Like, you have to sell in the content, and if you're not working on the visual parts of your listing and iterating and continuously moving the needle there and staying different in the market, you could be blending in now, not even realizing, and then you're throwing your hands in the air, not looking at some of your most important levers. And so I thought that those were two calls from the things that you said that I think that are really going to stick with me, and I hope stick with the people watching for sure.
That's good. 2 points to build off of that. Another question you should ask is what the agency's intake form looks like. Because let's say the salesperson maybe doesn't know the exact process correctly. Our sales team does, so you would get that answer. But looking at the intake form of what the agency is asking for is going to tell you a lot. Like, our intake form is admittedly too long, ridiculously long. But we have a video at the top that tells you, we admit it's too long. If you don't have some of these, you ignore it, but give us everything you got so we want to become one of your team, right? Like, we want to really understand your brand inside and out. And the only way that we can do that as an outsider is to digest everything you have, right? Like, we need to just sit in it. So if you can just give us everything, and by everything, I'm asking you to like pull Amazon reports, pull those SQP reports. I have little videos that show you how to do it. Like, that intake form should tell you everything you need to know about the agency, really. And I forgot my other point, so we can continue.
To kind of double click on that and move on was that.
The other point I was going to mention, I remember now. So the other point I was going to mention is the other thing that I noticed on listings that is super, super common today, even though I feel like we're at a more advanced stage, like people get it that they need to be focusing on their content. But I would still say more than 50% of brands that come to us have not activated their premium A+ content, and their content itself just overall is not mobile optimized. So if we know that over 70% of shopping is happening on mobile, why have we not checked through that lens of like, is this content actually readable on mobile, first of all? And if you take it a step further, if our customer happens to be over the age of 50, can they even read this?
That's the difference between, I'm going to say this over and over, guys, that's the difference between a real agency and, I'm not picking on freelancers. I'm not. Sometimes budgets are what they are. So please don't take this the wrong way. You'll be different phase of your Amazon journey. Not everybody has endless checkbooks. We need to factor that in. But as you kind of move down the journey, I want to make this point. That being a clear differentiator, I think. And the other thing that I kind of look at it is a permanent investment in your listing that's going to bear fruit for a long, long, long time. And I've worked with premium design agencies over the years that were very, very expensive with some of my higher end brands. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars for rebrands and content rework. And you would say, well, I mean, that's a lot to swallow. And you start to think, well, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Well, when you're looking at, if your overall conversion rate goes from, let's say 11% to 17%, right? And you're doing 20 million a year, do the math. We're talking millions of dollars. And so that's not, I mean, at that scale, it's like, yeah, that's big pie in the sky. But if you're doing $500,000 a year as an Amazon business and you can make meaningful gains in conversion rate, that's $150,000 more, whatever it might end up being, that like I didn't have to pay for right? I paid for that once, and next year I get to realize that too, as long as I'm continuing to move the needle there. And so I think that was the other thing I want to talk about as well.
What I've seen more and more in the last year is there's brands that are coming to us that have more of this mindset, right? And they're taking it a step further, and they're hiring multiple agencies at the same time. They're playing a different ball game at that point, because they're going to take pieces of what we did, pieces of what they did, pieces of another team, and they're going to start taking the best ideas and testing them and then developing something else. So they basically understood that that's part of the game, and now they're putting part of their budget towards that throughout the year, so that all these teams are basically competing against each other with these ideas. Like, we don't even know a lot of times that agencies are doing this or the brands are doing this until we're all the way almost done with the project. And they're like, oh yeah, we're working with these other guys too, and that's fine. Like it's great. It's great that they're doing that. It's a way that they can really get, top-notch content and see what really would perform best. Like, you should be split testing this content. So I'm all for that.
And those competitors exist, folks. So keep in mind, there's people doing that. You better get on board, or at least start thinking about things in a different way, because your competitors are going to do it. And unfortunately, the really big competitors with a lot of money are starting to get serious about it. So if you're going to be competitive in the long term, you have to look at it that way. I think kind of like a fun topic I wanted to talk about. I got a couple things around this gentleman today, and he's kind of like everybody's like, at least I have business. I was like Alex Hormozi, and Eric Ryan's like, to me is. I mean, anybody that's an Amazon seller that sells something, right? I mean, go watch his content, watch some of his interviews, because the guy's an absolutely brilliant human being. And he's launched brands like Method. I hope everybody's heard of, unless you're under a rock. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of Ollie. These are two separate brands that he launched in two independent spaces that are north of $1 billion in what they're worth. He's exited those companies, right? And when he launched those, we're talking pre-Amazon. And Amazon is a huge leverage point. Like, I think a lot of people think, oh, Amazon's so hard. I'm like, guys, I've been doing this since like 2005, not to date myself, right? They don't know hard. That's hard. And that's why it was so hard. Like, now it's like you can do on Amazon, do some things right. And there's a lot of things. I mean, it's still hard. Like, the dates are hard, but it's just a different game. So he was in a space where like brick and mortar was like the nuts and bolts of like how you built something. And so when you're looking at household cleaners, and you're trying to go on there, like you said, on shelf earlier, so I was glad I could come back to this. Like, that stuff is everything. And his whole thing, he's built his entire empire. Design is in his DNA, right? And so one of the things he talks about when he looks for like tremendous opportunities, and when it's funny, as an Amazon seller, you'll look at this and look at it as a disadvantage, but this kind of like flips that over on its side, kind of almost on its back. And he talks about what he would do is he would walk down like grocery stores or department stores, and he would look for tired categories and what he called the sea of sameness. And then I looked at that and go, I look at Amazon, and it's so much worse on Amazon. Like,
oh, yes.
It's not a physical shelf. On Amazon, you're talking, the digital shelf is damn near infinite. Like, you want to talk about the sea of sameness. And I'm like, that is a really, really, really cool frame, I think. And then that's like the backbone of everything he does. And so kind of like moving on from that, I think I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that, and, ways that, in terms of like a main image, let's just use like a main image as like a lever there, right? Kind of like along those same lines. I think he talked about mobile, which also was a great thing too, which jumps out to me. It's like you have the images where there's so much stuff jammed into the image that you can't see what the hell's going on, what the product's selling. You have the corny hang tags. You have like the Amazon thumbnails on top of it, like the Amazon 10-pack things. And so, in terms of like, if you're like a challenger brand, which is kind of like the whole concept of this video series, right? Like, if you're a huge $20-50 million brand, like, you've made it, right? You just have to make sure you keep, but for everybody else, if you're a challenger brand, kind of using that concept of like the sea of sameness, and how do you guys approach that from like an execution standpoint, right? Because to me, that's an opportunity, a huge opportunity. There's so many tire categories like that on Amazon.
Right. I love that. And I think really that starts with the entrepreneur, because I mean, the entrepreneur has to identify that. Like, I just heard about this company on a podcast, and it's been in my brain, and it associates with this so much, but it's a canned bean company. Okay. Which imagine that category. It's basically going bankrupt in the States, right? Like there's like the biggest canned bean companies going bankrupt right now. Okay. Canned beans, the most boring category in the world. And I heard about this. I wish I could remember the brand's name so I could give them a shout out right now. But I heard about them on a podcast on TikTok, and they're doing canned beans, but flavors, like really awesome, interesting, yummy flavors. Because yes, my husband's a chef, right? And he's like, well, I like the plain beans so I can make my recipes with the beans, but he's a chef. What about all the non-chefs out there that just want to open the beans, heat them up, and eat some yummy beans that actually have flavor? And we don't know how to flavor really well because we're not chefs, right? So like there's a whole unaddressed market that wants to have flavorful food at home, that just wants the convenience of opening the can, heating it up, and having yummy beans, right? So like that was a founder's choice to do that. And then our job, once they come to us, would be to tell that amazing story, right? And to show people like, how cool is this that this brand is doing flavored beans? Like, see how excited I get? Like, I get so passionate about beans, you know, like
I'm the same way.
You know, like, because you're just like, oh, why didn't I think of this? This is so genius, because the category was boring. So take something that works. Beans are not going to go away, you know, good food, good flavor is not going to go away. And you put the two together, right? And marry that with some awesome packaging and tell the story and make sure it's good, and people are going to keep coming back for it, right? And so there's that whole piece of it, and that makes our job so much easier. So when we get to work with a product like that, I should be this excited. I should be this pumped to tell your story, right? And that's half the battle right there. The other half of the battle is figuring out if we're talking about main image. Sure, like there's so many different little things you could do with the main image to show and make it stand out, right? So imagine all the cans of beans in the category. They're probably, because this is how boring and old this category is, they're just showing a can of beans, a can of beans, a can of beans, a can of beans, right? So imagine a can of beans that actually has a cool label. That's the first start. But imagine a can of beans that has like a bowl of beans sitting next to it, and the beans are kind of like a little mountain on top of the bowl, right? Like obviously the little bowl is not going to come with it. So that's like one thing that's like slightly out of terms of service, but that's like a gray area.
I'm with you though.
Okay. Imagine, or let's keep going with this. Imagine it's all cans. What if one has a hand coming in with a spoon and the beans are on the spoon, right? Now you have a hand coming into the frame just like this, and you got your can of beans and there's your spoon. And now you're just like, ooh, what's that? I have a cool label. I have a spoon coming. Like your eyes are just like, ooh, what is that? You know, like it's getting the eyeballs and getting the clicks, right? Imagine we take it a step further and we add a little circular badge icon that sits right on top of the packaging that maybe looks like an award, new innovation of the year award, or it has the flavor really big and bold inside of that. So it's like chili lime flavor or whatever the flavors are, right? But like so big that you can see it. So it's not just black beans. It's like chili lime black beans, really. And if it's chili lime, heck, let's just throw a picture of a little lime, little lime wedge off the side of the can right there, So it's like all of these little details are going to help you stand out from everyone else. It's showing that like you're the fresh thing to hit the market. You're the one to take a look at. You're the leader of the pack.
You were picking up what I was laying down. That was everything I hoped for in a response and more. And I need to give you some more shout outs, guys. I'm going to keep saying this after years of doing this. The stuff that she just came off with off the cuff, off like out of thin air, out of the ether, you just can't duplicate that. You can't. The thing that I really liked was like the spoon. Like that's why I get so excited about, because I see stuff like that too. I completely geek out on stuff like that. Like that hit me. It's like, it's coming to my mouth. I felt hungry. It's already tasty. It's already got unique flavors. Like I'm already pulled in. That stuff is so important. And I think that you looked at entire category and your brain was instantly able to react. And that's exactly what Eric Ryan did. Like you had 2 scents at the sign, bleach, smell, and pine, right? And what they did is they added a bunch of really cool scents, and they did really awesome stuff with the bottle. And they focused on Target because there was no Amazon then. And they completely blew things apart. And the good news about what Danielle is saying is this: if you're a challenger brand, when you get big enough to a point and you catch a lot of momentum there and you start to get noticed and make attention, they got a big rear end They got a big old butt, and it takes a while for them those big players to pivot. They're going to copy you, but that's going to take time. And by the time they do copy you, as imitation is the biggest form of flattery, but you already put your fence post in the dirt on who you are and what you do. So you become a category leader in your own little subset. And they get to pull in all their big media dollars in their marketing spend, which pulls more people into the niche. And it all starts finding like a tired, boring spot, right? Where, most people wouldn't think to look. I think the other thing you talk about too is I kind of like, as I get inspired, you can tell I'm kind of a dense guy. Is like, when I look at like Amazon product research, there's so much of an art to it that I think a lot of people miss. It's all tool-based, and it should be, search volume and your dollars per search. And I have a whole prescriptive thing that we look through. But there's like another element to it that I think is really the X factor. And there's things like shadow demand, I like to say. It's like it's pent-up demand. There's pent-up want inside of people that can be unleashed, but it's not immediately clear to the tools. Taste, things like with the beans and stuff like that. Like they don't know they want flavors. The beans
is like it's like why hasn't that been done? Like I'm just like, wait, how is this not a thing already? But like it's like shocking to me, But we have another brand that we worked with that I love, and I always talk about this brand because it's like one of my favorite brands. It's a brand called Mumaloo, okay? And their founder, female founder, and she was developing these like crafts for her kids at home, and she was just feeling like there wasn't anything like this on the market, where it was like, yes, there's like crafts, but they weren't like done the way that she was envisioning it in her mind, So she was just like, when you buy crafts online, you're buying like the individual things that you need to do a craft activity that you found online on a blog or something, right? So you got to buy the pencils and the popsicle sticks and the like this and that and whatever. You buy all these little things, and all these little things cost so much, right? And now there's like kits that they sell that's like to do one activity with like 8 kids or whatever, right? But what she wanted was, she was like, I want a box that has all of the little activities like portioned out, ready to go, so that I can do like one a day or a few a day. When my kid gets home from school, we can do these little fun activities together. And I don't have to sit there cutting all the popsicle sticks and getting all the things ready and da 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 da. And like they're parents, they're busy. They just want to be able to have this fun thing, right? In a cute little box that the kid gets excited about, like a nativity set. They get to open their little activity. And I did not get it at first because I'm not a parent, right? But I have nieces and a nephew. So I bought these for my nieces, and I went to visit them, and I was like, let's see. The amount of attention these kids gave this activity for, like, and here's the other interesting thing. All of the adults, when we're normally hanging out, and this is sad to say, are normally like watching TV, not, doing an activity together, not doing a board game unless like somebody initiates it. And this basically cut through all the noise. We had like 6 adults around the table with the 2 girls doing these activities. And I was just like, wow, that started with the founder. That started with Sabina, who had this idea of like, how can we make crafts easier for parents so they can do these activities with their kids? And by the way, it has all of these other benefits for the kids that we can tell in the story, right?
That's magic.
That's magic. That's magic.
Excitement. I can envision all that in my head. I think that whole piece right there, like that's the genesis of content in me. Like you took me through the whole thing. Like, okay, and then it becomes there's like little parts of that you unpack that become like cool little surprises that you wouldn't have. The and twos actually matter. Like, oh, everybody's doing this, and now the parents are coming in, and then then you take for granted that like I have to like find popsicle sticks and put all this stuff together. But I call that that's like you have like the uppercut and then the right hook. Then you come in with that, and it's like, oh, but wait, this is easy. Then it's done.
and then you wonder like, why wasn't it being done like this the whole time, right? And it's like somebody just took the extra step to say, okay, yes, this product is going to be a lot more difficult to develop, and I wanted a certain particular way that I have in my mind. But she's like creating these amazing products that people are falling in love with. That she's like safeguarding herself for a while from the competition because she's innovating on the category. Yeah,
I think what really jumps out to me is like there's the emotive, like that spark of joy. Like there's like,
Yeah.
you can feel the experience. Like you talked about, I thought of Christmas, it brought me into all that stuff. And it is founder first, you know. I think I'm just going to be blunt about it. To me, it's like, yeah, you can make these arbitrage plays and like you said, be okay. And I can, you know, jam things into the shelf based on the amount of competitors and all that stuff. And I can chew my fingernails to the nub and to the ends of my knuckles because the fuse is going. Like I have to launch more products that keep finding these arbitrage plays. My like spirit is in that. I think if that's clear, we definitely share that. It's like, you know, somebody's inspired about what they're doing, and I mean, it's not like a cliche. I genuinely mean this, and it's a true innovation born from like genius. I think that's like a genius idea. Like it just, that's the secret. That's the secret. I don't know how to duplicate that, but I think to me, it's like, that's how you win the long game, right? That's how you win the long game. You're not constantly fighting this war of economics all the time. You know, there's a soul to the brand that can help you sustain, and the spirit that people can grab onto. Right down the name Mamalu. Such a cool story. It's such
right.
A cool story.
And the thing that they both have in common, right? If you think about it, like whether it's beans or crafts, the possibilities are endless for those two brands, right? Like they could keep innovating on endless flavors of beans. Right. And they're going to find out what like the limit is and how many flavors people actually buy the most. And that's part of the experiment. Right. And same thing with the crafts. Right. But like the crafts could be, you could have 100 different like themed boxes, you know, like the sky is the limit for a brand like that. And the same thing with the beans. Like, I'm just like that gets me excited. That gets me pumped when you can kind of find that intersection of like something that works and something that's boring and stale, and then bring innovation to it, and just think about it through the lens of you. Like, what would get you pumped to use beans again in your kitchen, or what would get you pumped to play with your kids again, or what would be something that would like save you time, be like something you would genuinely enjoy and want to incorporate into your diet or your home. Like when you start answering these questions for yourself, and it could start with that research data that you're talking about, right? Like, you could see, okay, all of these categories are doing really well. There's room for improvement in these, 3 categories. I think I want to play in one of these, and then just spend some time really thinking about it. Like sometimes it's not about adding just one extra feature. Sometimes it's like thinking about it, flipping it on its head and thinking about it a totally different way, how this could really bring benefit to the family or to the person's home, to their life, to their lifestyle. Like, flavorful beans, they're probably going to be incorporating beans more in their diet, which is better for you anyways, more fiber, right? So like, that's a huge win. Easier crafts, parents are going to be playing with their kids more, and their kids are going to love the bonding activity, and they're going to learn more from their parents. So like, those are huge wins. Like, what are the ways that we can bring an outcome, an actual win into people's lives so that they feel that they got something out of it? Like, it's an actual transformation.
All of that. I love the part about cat meaningful catalog extension, and I think it's almost like the examples you brought up were literally perfect illustrations, and we don't live in a perfect world, right? And just markets and niches are different. Everybody's in a different situation, but when I look at like beans and things like that, it's not like I'm adding another color. Right? Like, I'm adding a meaningful addition to my catalog that makes sense all the way to the bones and the soul of what I'm doing. And when you hit that and it's an entire category, it's like hitting pay dirt, right? Because beans are boring. Like, that to me would be a great headline. Beans are boring. I would lead with that, and then but kind of like this really takes me right into the next point. It was like, the other thing that Eric Ryan had talked about that really jumped out to me, and I can't wait to hear your take on this. I can't wait to hear your take on this. Was once he identifies these tired categories, right? And I think we've already touched on a lot of this, but this kind of adds some layers to it. He says, well, what I try to do is I try to create these little objects of desire, and I'm like, I like listen to it like 14 times over. I'm like, that is so, I really like the way he framed little objects of desire, and then where he's putting these little objects of the desire. So if we look at Ali, gummy vitamins are everywhere now, so we kind of like take it for granted, but definitely the pioneer there. And so what he did is he's like, how can I make this playful and fun? Because it's like when you see him, so all makes sense, right? So he makes the bottle square. That's very colorful. It's like, it brings in like a taste benefit, because normally vitamins are like, bleh, at that time you swallow them, they're horse pills from GNC. And he brought that in, and it completely nuked the niche, right? And so he made it desirable, something that you wanted to take, and he made it compelling. And so I think when I look at content, this is where I think that, like, the people, the greats, the greats, I think when I look at an agency that makes animation, you should check them out. Like, these, like, this is pre like 3D rendering and stuff like this. They had 3D rendering, but this is like before it became a thing. And even then, this guy's light years beyond. His name's Barton, and his agency's called Already Been Chewed. And he
Already
really
what?
understands this. Already Been Chewed. The guy is a
Okay.
true artist in every sense of the word. Where I'm going with that is this. Like, then one of my lifelong friends, Casey, like, he's a serial entrepreneur. It's kind of along those lines too. And this is where I think I've kind of like built my understanding of this, and so how important it was. Is like, you look at object desirable. When we look at content in general, I don't think that people look at it through the lens of, does this make me want it? Does this make me really want it?
Yes.
Who cares about that? I'm talking about my ingredient panel. It's got hummus. Everybody else is saying, well, you're talking about the damn beans. It's got the spoon in my face. And I'm like, man, I gotta have these. It's only got 140 reviews. I want to taste it. I don't care. Like, to me, it's like the secret sauce. And so, what are your kind of thoughts on that? Because I've watched like your content, and you guys definitely are in that pocket. How do you approach that?
I think one of the hardest pieces to accomplish that is, and like, full transparency here, like, the hardest piece to get right is going to be the lifestyle imagery, because the lifestyle imagery can really shape the brand in so many different ways. Like, yes, the font treatment, yes, the colors, yes, all of that, all of it has to come together. But the base of what we're getting from clients is their product imagery. Like, they walk in the door, they're like, here's the product images, here's the lifestyle images that we have to work with. So we're trying to really take that and elevate and bring everything together based off of that. And so if you can go to a top-notch photographer that's going to give you better lifestyle images, I would recommend that. And it's not very hard and doesn't have to be expensive anymore. Like, Suna is such a great option for brands. And I would call that like middle of the road. Like, I don't think that's like premium, but that is so much better than what most brands have anyway. So I feel like that should be your baseline. That should be your starting point, is coming up with your first set of really awesome lifestyle images. And by lifestyle images, what I mean is like what is the context in which we're showing these products? Who is the person that's going to be using this product? Is it like, how do we envision showing our product once it's online, right? So like, for instance, Samsonite's one of our clients that we've loved working with. And they just launched a new line of product. And they came to us and they said, this line of product is going to be specifically for this target demographic, which happens to be a younger demographic. And when we think about that, we're thinking, okay, this is the people that are not necessarily the luxury jet setters, right? But they're going to be the younger, on the go, like, fun vibes. I want colorful, like, luggage that matches my aesthetic. And it's that whole vibe, right? Like, my headphones match my suitcase, match my, like, it's that kind of, like, it's the match people. Like, that's a whole thing, by the way. It's a whole trend, is like, I want all my stuff to match. Yeah. So what we're building into is that culture of like, we know that's a trend. We want to show that culture as the first thing they see. But if we didn't have like some sort of base images to understand that that's the direction that they want to go, we would have to like intuitively understand that or put that together for them, you know? And so what do we know? Like, we know that when we're doing a shot list for a suitcase brand, like, there's all the things the shots that we know we need, right? We need this angle, that angle. We need a person, we need zoom in shots. We need, we like literally every single shot that you need in a shot list. And then there's like the lifestyle pieces, you know? So it's thinking through, if we know the audience is a younger demographic, we would want younger people. We'd want them to be with bright colors to match the suitcase. And like, that's a really thoughtful process. And when they come to us with those images, it makes our job a whole lot easier. Now, like, let's go on the flip side of that. A brand that's coming to us with nothing, and they're basically saying, here's my product on white.
Right.
make it look like Samsonite. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean? Or make it look like Apple. We hear that a lot. Make it look like Apple, you know? And it's like, okay, what is it that you like about Apple? And like, is that who your customer is? Is it like, is that like the sleek, like, is that a match? You know? And so we have to go a bit deeper and really understand who is the customer, you know? And so if we can get that, if we can get there, then it makes our job a lot easier. So an activity that we do with brands, if they come to us with nothing, is we try to say, okay, let's go through an activity together and let's see like which brands you gravitate towards. And this could be in your category or not in your category. Like, because you might look at some people in your category and be like, I like what they're doing. Great. Now let's go look at other categories and see if you still gravitate towards that design aesthetic. And what you can kind of do is figure out, okay, I'm inspired by these 2, maybe 3 brands. Identify what is it that you like about those 2 or 3 brands. And I ask them to like point out all the different things, right? I like the curved edges. I like the bright colors. I like the fonts that kind of look like this, not like that. I like this. And that level of detail is what we need as designers to be able to bring your vision to life. If we don't have that, it's really hard for us to read your mind and deliver on something that's in here. Like, I know you know what you want, but I can't get there unless we distill that down, you know? And so one of the heavy lifts is going to be the product imagery. The rest is going to be figuring out like what the rest of that identity is. And hopefully at this point, a lot of brands that come to us, they already have like their aesthetic kind of figured out, and they're just kind of like, take this and make it better, you know? So we're like, okay, we can play with that.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I think there's situations, because I think there's a lot of brands too, like incubators and things like that. Like we have one, like a guy, he's tremendously successful in his, in other forms of business from CPG, and he's launched a brand, he has capital. And I think that coming in, there's going to be a lot of product launches where they have the resources to work with, but they don't necessarily know the movie pieces that they need. And so I want everybody to hear Daniela talk about that in particular. And so it's one thing to say, you'll hear this a lot from designers. And so, but I'm going to take this next. I'm just going to go with a second. Yeah, we need lifestyle photography, right? And that person goes, okay, great. What do you need? And they go, they don't have an answer. Just, we need more stuff. And then we'll just jam the product images in. Like, she's very prescriptive, right? She wants to, you can give them shot lists. And so that you can actually consult and be a true professional partner, like a true professional, right? And guide them to get the stuff that they need to give you what you need to build, and tell the story and create those bones of desire. And so I thought all those things were just absolutely fantastic call outs. I hope everybody gets to see how much goes into this. Because when you look at,
I know.
This is what I was looking for today. This is really, really what I wanted to show people today, was that you can go on Fiverr and you can look for designers. And I made a post. It was almost like a test post. Like, I think this time I should get in touch with you, because I should, me and Danielle talk off camera about other things, something that I'm working on, very excited about. We'll be working with Danielle with. Anyways, that aside, I'm still getting DMs to this day, right? And they're all kinds of prices all across the board, right? And there's so many designers out there. What separates them? Like, why is this person 500 and why is this person 5,000 for a set of images? What's the value delta, right? And so it gets hard, because especially if most of the states, there's so much low cost creative out there, and like, people, they don't necessarily understand what it takes and what the differences are. There's layers and layers of value and skill and stuff like that, and how important that is. I think a lot of times when people are launching these businesses, and that's why I really want to kind of get somber about this. I've had, like, I'll get emotional thinking about with some of my founders. Like, we've had some dark moments where like everything is on the line, right? And like, you only want to spend $400 on your graphics. You have all of your savings into this business. Like,
yeah,
no, please, I'm begging you. As a marketer, even, like, makes my job easier selfishly, but like, I hope everybody takes that out from today. Did you have anything that you want to add there before we move on to the last topic here, Daniela?
Oh, what's the last topic? I'm curious now.
Okay, the last one is, it was an obvious ad. I had to put it in. it's about AI, right? And so I
Oh
think
yeah,
you
good
had
one.
some really
Of
cool
course.
takes on this. I think, and you had some great points, and so I'm really excited to get into it. And I think AI is the obvious thing to talk about. It's both, it's kind of a blessing and a curse in disguise. It can make you more productive. It can make you, it can make things cheaper. I think at the same time, as a founder, like it's a huge part of my day because I'm in marketing, right? And I'm not using it to be a first adopter. I'm using it because it's made me a better operator. It's an important part of my business. So I think it's something that we all have to address. But talking in terms of content on the Amazon lens, we talked about the CSA in this a little bit today. We talked about every copies to people right, left. Then you got crap. It's essentially crap content to the right and left. Everybody's the same. And people think AI is going to be the savior that comes in and makes everything magically better. I think it's an equalizer. It's not like it's an equalizer. It makes it so like I can get close to not like a Nike content. Their content's so beautiful. Like I can at least play there now, at least get close or in that zone. But here's what's going to happen in my prediction. I think we're definitely going to be aligned here. I'm going to have better looking crap. I mean, that's what it's going to be. Everything's still going to look the same,
Right.
and it's still not saying anything meaningful, anything important. And so
Yeah.
it'll look like it came off a conveyor belt. And the difference is that AI people's eyes don't look like they're going off in outer space anymore. What are your thoughts on how you guys approach AI and how are you guys using that to as leverage? I think that's the other thing, Tom, I'll talk about just briefly on AI. I have to do a small aside. Almost like I'm big on ranting, so I'm going to keep it short. If you look on LinkedIn, it's a chat GPT pukescape. It's like I paste the post into my GPT. It gives me a thing and I paste it in, and it's thousands of these things. And by the way, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be images and everywhere. And so how do you use AI, or how do you guys use AI so it becomes a point of leverage and not a crutch?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So we've been using AI in our process for over a year now in multiple different ways. Obviously on the research side, it's helped us become tremendously efficient there. In terms of the actual creatives, there's a few different ways that we use AI. One of them is going to be when a client maybe comes to us and they did a photo shoot. They spent thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars on photo shoots, and they changed their packaging. Maybe they had to do an update. AI makes it really effective for us to be able to do swap outs, to really ideate the same concept and still stay on brand, because we know we have all of this baseline of imagery from what the client, photography looks like. They didn't necessarily want to change that. So we can easily either do swap outs and then touch ups with Photoshop. I will say, one of the big things that we have to remember is AI is not a one-click button. Like if anybody has played with creating an image or multiple images at the same time, it is a time suck. Like, let's be honest and call it what it is. You will sit there and you can have 10 screens going at the same time, creating multiple images at once. You still have to fine tune and edit those images. They're almost never perfect. There's always going to be tiny little things that you have to adjust. And that does require going into Photoshop and just touching things up at the end, right? So there's still a human element involved. And that's after you went back and forth prompting and figuring out the right thing and blah, 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 right? Could I have designed it maybe in that amount of time? Maybe, does it allow me to do other whimsical things that maybe I couldn't do so quick with Photoshop? Yes. Right. So there is advantages in certain areas. Maybe we wanted to do more of like a whimsical Disney effect, right? That we can accomplish with AI and maybe not as easy with Photoshop. And so it does lend itself to certain use cases that maybe we couldn't play with so effectively before. So it's about figuring out, like, is that the vision for this specific product and this brand, right? Like it might not fit. So it doesn't fit with every product in that sense. There's very few clients that we've been able to do all AI listings for, because one, it's usually like a tell, like you can instantly subconsciously know, oh, this was all done with AI. And like, there's that human side of us that knows that, we know that now. And so we pick up on it, whether you like it or not. We're kind of like, and you lose a little bit of trust there. So like, that's one thing, right? The other thing is I kind of look at it like renders. Like when 3D renders first came and people started using them on Amazon, we were like, yes, this is awesome. It's way more crystal, way more clear. We have used them forever. And I love them on main images specifically. I think they're a game changer for many, many, many products, not all products. And guess why Amazon never liked them for a really long time? They allow them now, but they didn't for a long time. because there was such bad renders. They were so bad, like to where the customer would get it and they'd be like, that's not what I ordered, like, so it's just because AI is seemingly easy to do, you still have to do it well, and you have to refine your craft, and you have to bring your best foot forward and have authenticity when the listing goes live. So I think there's a time and a place for how we use AI. How we're using it across majority of our clients today, for the most part, is we're bridging the gap. So like most brands come to us with, here's our product photography, here's our lifestyle images, here's what you have to work with. We'll be like, great, looks like we have 80% of what we need. There's a couple pieces missing that we would like to play around with. Are you okay if we use AI for those? Sure. So we get to play and kind of fill in the gaps of what we're missing content-wise with AI. So that way, when you're looking at the listing, you're not just seeing a bunch of AI and it's not a total tell. It's just kind of like used here and there to fill in the gap. I've seen listings like this before where like the entire listing was renders. And when you see a product listing and it's all renders going down the screen, you're like, there's no product photography for this at all. And it's like, you like lose trust because you're wondering, is this actually a real product, right? Like, or is this like a fake? Like, it just feels weird. It just feels like that subconsciously weird thing. So it has to be done right in that regard. The other way that we're using AI, I will say, as a third use case, is to scale catalogs. So for brands that have hundreds, in some cases thousands of SKUs, we're able to basically create a master template, and then we're able to use AI to scale it across thousands of SKUs in minutes. So that's another interesting use case for AI, and I love that one the most because that's something that we were never able to do before. It's something that we used to turn away really big enterprise clients because we just couldn't get there. We couldn't figure out how to make it cost effective for them. They want custom content like what we do, and they want it across their catalog, but the unit economics would just never make sense, almost never. So now we're able to do that.
Oh, those are all fantastic points. So some things I really liked in there were the part about trust. I think when you're talking digitally, they can't put it in their hands. There's maybe not a lot of brand recognition, right? There's big brands on Amazon, but I think digital is one of those few places where there's a lot more variety. And people take for granted how much small inconsistencies can completely lose you an opportunity to get them to add it to cart, right? And so as people are going through that, like we're able to distill that and unpack that and be like, oh, these are all renders. Like we're able to define what makes us feel uneasy about it. The customer can't. They'll just feel off and they're gone, right? I think that really is a difference between like a practitioner, right, and somebody that's just like, you're just putting images in there and just crossing your fingers and hoping that it sells. I think there's multiple layers of trust that have to be achieved. And it, to me, as I think about, is if you're, again, looking at challenger brands, maybe you're just launching, maybe you're 6-7 months in, you don't have a 10,000 review brand vote, right? You don't, your rating might be okay, but you have to be able to manufacture trust outside of that, or you are not going to win. And so every detail matters. And I think, like you said, we're talking about like the different prompts and stuff like that. Like, a lot of times you'll just put it in and then that estimate goes in the listing. But I would be willing to bet what you guys are, you might get like, I look like Esther if I'm you looking at the screen, or maybe it's just me. Let's say it's like a hose end spray or something like that. Or Mosquito Sniper is one of our super cool product, by the way. Check them out. They need some help. I'll give them your name.
What is it? A mosquito sniper?
It's called Mist Pro. Okay, quick story on this guy. Awesome product. I can share the product because he's got it locked up tight with patents. So no China, you can try, but we'll get you pulled off. Anyways, he's a old state police, like he's a state police officer, right? And he was a sniper. And mosquitoes suck and ticks and stuff like that in your yard, and so you have to pay to get it sprayed. You have to buy these $400, $500, $600 mist sprayers. He's like, well, what if I just engineered this thing? He's one of those crafty people, very similar to the story you told, but like the guy side of it, right? And so it spins. Right, you put this thing. It spins and you can mist the pesticide out like through the thing. It's like a regular leaf board. It's absolutely brilliant, genius idea, right? And so, where am I going with this? To kind of reel myself back in, I think layers of trust. okay, I can actually bring it back. In this particular situation, it's like if I don't have 12, 13, 1400 reviews or things like that, it's new product on the market, like if there's, okay, I'm where I'm at now. So let's say you're looking at the screen, they give you a couple, he takes some pictures of himself out in the yard, some good ones. And you're like, okay, one of the features is this thing can mist up into the tree. But there's nothing like that. And I could do it in Photoshop and it would take me an eternity to try. And even then, angles would look weird. I might have to ask them to reshoot like the product or whatever. Oh, you know the struggles. AI can help me bring that to life. Like, okay,
totally.
That's to me the magic of AI. But you have to know the story that you want to tell. You have to know all that stuff has to be there. And when you put that tool in the right person's hands, that's where it becomes a multiplier and leverage versus like you're adding to the sea of junk and detracting from your own trust. And so I think it was a great talk today. I know I've had John for a while. It's everything that I thought it would be. I'm very, very excited about this. I geek out on this stuff. If you haven't already noticed, like I think content,
likewise,
visuals, it's like I'm a marketer at heart, and I think there's more to it than data. And I think when people miss that, they struggle. And so, how do people find you? Right? I mean, you make great content on LinkedIn, like.
Yeah, my number one place where people find me and follow me is on LinkedIn. And then you can find us at mindfulgoods.co. And you find me on LinkedIn by searching for Daniela Bolzmann.
And she's got lots of samples of all kinds of cool content that they've made.
Oh, yeah.
What reeled me in. And the second thing that reeled me in was the sea of people that plugged her in comments. And there's difference between like the bot plug comments, right? Like Mr. Sanchez thinks that you should was not like that. Daniela's the best. Daniela's the best. I'm like, I should reach out to her. And then my Facebook feed started feeding me stuff because you've been to Amazon, you spoke at Amazon. So really a true professional. I think the last thing I want to shout her praises and that like you can have great designers and stuff like that. But to me, Amazon design is a beast all in itself. It's its own machine. There's a lot of intricacies. There's a lot of nuance to that and doing it right. And when you do it right, it can make, as you said earlier, like a 7x increase in somebody's business that's an already established, powerful brand. You were just able to translate that onto the platform, right? So Amazon's its own beast. And so if you guys, I encourage you to reach out to Daniela and her team and just have them at least talk you through some things because you really are a treasure to the industry. And I mean that wholeheartedly. So thank you for being on today. And I'm going to follow up with you as well. I've already chatted with her soon. We have
looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's almost fun. And so I'm going to get you on phone with my branding team. I can't wait to get my brand off the ground. So
that's exciting.
Very, very excited about it. So thanks a lot, Daniela. It was
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be in touch soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.